Welcome, and welcome to you. My name is Erica Quest. I am here on behalf of Balanced Body, and you are here for today's incredible topic with our monthly e-learning series. We're talking all about social media, which is such a hot topic, yes, but we're talking about how we have all had to pivot in today's market and how, in fact, we will have to be continuing to pivot in this market going forward. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we are recording this webinar so we can go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Erica Quest. I'm so happy that you all are here. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of the processes and procedures for today's webinar. We have opened up that chat feature on your webinar over to the side. So when you pull up your chat, please know that you have options to chat with all panelists, and or you can also toggle it down to all panelists and attendees. So feel free to use that feature. Our guests today are Chelsea Streifeneder and Zayna Gold. They have put their contact information in the chat, and they will continue to do so as we go along. So please feel free to interact with us. Shannon Cook, the Director of Marketing, is here along with me. Yay, we're so excited to have you. These are monthly series that we are offering for all of us on a variety of different topics. And today you'll get a different perspective from our two guests, and hopefully a lot more information that will be usable for you going forward. Here's kind of the run of webinar. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our two guests, toss the baton over to Shannon Cook for some final last words, and then Chelsea's going to be our first guest to talk about sort of what's going on in her world with brick and mortar, as well as how she's had to pivot with her social media collaborative endeavors, and much, much more with her Body Be Well studios in the New York area. We will then also try and answer any of those questions in the chat feature, but please do not panic if we don't get to those questions along the way, because we always download the chat transcript, answer all of those questions, and send them to you hopefully within 24 hours, along with the link to the webinar that you can see indefinitely. So please do not panic. We always try and follow up on every single thing. We'll do our best because we only have about an hour. We'll then toss it over to Zayna, where she can impart her knowledge and come to you from her perspective as well, in addition to being a multiple studio owner. So this is a varied, two different people from the East Coast that have multiple studios, right? So you're gonna get a varied information from people who have several brick and mortars and have had to really pivot into the virtual environment or do a hybridized scenario with this. So without further ado, I am going to come on last. If there is some time at the very end, I have a great PowerPoint prepared for you with some resources. If we don't have that time, that's fine too, because that will be included in the follow-up. I'm going to toss the baton over to the Director of Marketing, Shannon Cook, for Balanced Body. A huge gratitude, as always, for allowing us to do these, Shannon, and open up these webinars to the larger audience, because I know they're hugely valuable now and will be going forward in the future. So Shannon, say hello, say some final last words, and then we'll begin to open up the conversation with Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. So excited to be here, and thank you for joining us. As always, we hold these monthly seminars just to bring you topics and information that we feel are uber relevant in today's climate for studios and instructors. So appreciate your support. I do want to say, before I forget, if you have topics that you'd like us to cover in the future, please feel free to put them in the chat, because we'd love to hear from you on that subject. But let's pivot to social media, which is such a huge topic, obviously, in our virtual world, and super excited to have Chelsea and Zayna here. Thank you for your generosity and time and willingness to share your experiences and information. So I'm just gonna say, Chelsea, you're up. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you at the end. Bye.
Hey. Hi. So my name is Chelsea Streifeneder and I own Body Be Well Pilates. I've had my Red Hook studio for 11 years and then I opened Catskill. We're going to be 8. And then I was going to open my 3rd studio April 1st and we all got shut down in March. So that studio didn't get to open. We've had in New York a very long, almost 6 months where we've been mandated to be closed. And today is actually the 9th day that we're able to be open. And like anything else, it's just, rebuilding, finding different ways to make income. I have over 8 people on my team, so in order to keep them employed. So there's been lots of hurdles. It's not easy. It's been exhausting. There has been tears. There has been anger. There's been frustration. So a couple of the things that I just wanted to, share with you guys are just some of the things that worked for me. In addition to all of the 3 studios, we also have a retail company. And when this whole thing started, my sister and I owned the company together and we made as many phone calls as we could because we were like, all right, great, we can totally cancel the holiday order and all this stuff. Well, a lot of the companies were like, well, if you cancel with us, you can't get wholesale again. So we're like, great. So now we have boxes and boxes and boxes of retail coming in and nothing, no people coming into the studios. So we did this, we did it twice. We did a sip and shop and we did it on Facebook Live. And this is one of the things that worked for me. And if you don't sell retail, I have a couple other ideas for you guys. But basically I felt like I was auditioning for QVC. My sister managed all the comments. I did it on my personal Facebook page. And the first night we sold almost $5,000 worth of merchandise. We shipped merchandise, we bagged stuff up. And, that was a great source of income. And then we did it again the following week with some other stuff because the retail kept coming and Shannon's porch and my nephew's bedroom was getting a little bit cluttered. So that was one thing that we did. Another thing that we did, being, in New York and in the Hudson Valley, it's gorgeous. And I got permission to teach outdoors. So the outdoor classes did work really well for us. However, depending on where we were teaching, we had to get permission with the amount of people and the space. I taught down at the Catskill Point on the water, and in that area, we were only allowed to have 9 people. So one of the things that I love to do, and right before we closed, I actually did an event. We did like knitting and Pilates. And one of the things that worked after we were closed, I reached out to other local restaurants, and collaboration is one of the most amazing things ever. And I know collaboration can be super scary. And for some reason, some of the people that I coach with and work with, when you collaborate, it's going to bring in more business. It's going to help you promote. It's cross-promoting. Nobody's stealing business from anyone. So I went to a couple different businesses that I love. And I basically was like, okay, we're going to do this event, which, people are scared of events. We can't use the word event. So we called it, which we've done in the past, we call it workout and takeout. So people come, they get their Pilates mat, and we do class outside. And then they get their meal afterwards from one of the local restaurants. And the way it works is I handled all the promotion. I work with them. But the 3 rules that I have when I do work with someone is once I reach out to them, they have 24 hours to get back to me. And if they don't, I move on to the next restaurant. I don't have a lot of time. None of us do. Our time is very, very, very valuable. So that's one of the things. The second thing is that I just ask them, I'm giving you all this amazing, amazing promotional material that we've spent time on. I need you to share it at least 3 or 4 times in your stories. And then I also need you to share it at least 1 time on your feed. And then the other thing is that we cross-promoted because people can go into restaurants. They did put out like my business cards and my wrap cards and things like that. So I actually just want to share with you guys, this is just from my brand and the way it worked, but I will share with you guys my promotional stuff that I used here. And it's 50-50, you know, we have both businesses, we have both logos. I have a picture of one of the outdoor classes, and then we have the menu. And then people had to also get me not only their reservation for class, but also what they wanted as far as their food order went, at least a day or two before, so the restaurants could get everything in. And yeah, and that's been working really, really nice for us. And now that we're open, we're just kind of taking things day by day, but yeah. Let's see.
So when you're reaching out, Chelsea, to the restaurants and you're dealing with other people that are having to collaborate with this, like get permission for outdoor spaces, that's a very different kind of situation because you might have to get permits. And I know that it's a regional scenario. What was your experience when you had to actually kind of facilitate getting those permits or getting permission to be out in a park? Because I have heard and seen through the community that has been there's been a lot of red tape. People have done it kind of under the radar, and that's fine. But you're still risking, you know, the city truck driving past and being like, what's going on over there? Because are they making money doing that? Could you talk a little bit about your experience with that, please?
Yeah, sure. So for the Red Hook location, I got really lucky because, that's a whole nother topic, but I bought my real estate for my Red Hook studio and the Catskill studio. So the Red Hook studio, we were fine in the parking lot because I own it. The second place we went was Saugerties, and the landlord and the owner of the property allowed me to just do Pilates on the green. And so there was enough space because she owned it and it was private. The public park in Catskill, I did have to get permission from. I went to one of my friends. He's a local politician. He has, you know, he helps me with a lot of different things. And the rule is that because it's a public park, we didn't have to get a permit, but I was not allowed to have more than 10 people on that spot. And me as the teacher, or my teachers, counted as one person. So we had to be really strict about having, you know, only 9 people. So we didn't have like 50 people in class. So that was for Catskill, and they were very happy to support a local business, and it was fine to have me come in as long as I abided by the rules. So
yeah, no, that makes total sense. And then as far as these 3 different locations and handling sort of some of the technology and you did the promotion, of course, you had the restaurants do the promotion. How did you handle registration and payment for those types of things? Because there's also a variety of different ways to do that. And that's the one thing I want to remind everyone on these webinars is there's really no one right way, which is why we're trying to get all of your information and feedback. How did you handle capturing people's registrations, accepting payments, getting payment to the restaurant, and those types of things?
So I see a lot of this also on the Pilates feeds and things like that. And I do use MindBody. I've used them for, it's going on 11 years. And I know they're expensive. I know there's lots of, cons, but that's what we've used. My clients are familiar with it. So that's what I've kind of stuck with as far as that goes. So people were able to register. We put a limit on it. They were only 9 spots. So that's how we did that. We collected payment. As far as paying the restaurants, everybody had Venmo, so I just paid them through that. Really simple and easy. In the past, as I joked on my personal Facebook, I just got Venmo too a month ago. My 90-year-old virtual client helped me set it up. He told me he told me I need to be hip like him. So now I have Venmo. But before I used to just write a check and give them the check. So they didn't have to worry about credit card fees or anything like that. The other thing, what I did want to bring up about the other virtual ways, like I know everybody uses Zoom, but one of the things that I've been using for all my privates and for our group online classes, we use Ring Central. We never had a problem with it crashing. Zoom bought Ring Central. It's exactly the same setup. I'm not sure as pricing how it goes, but in addition to the online platform, which we introduced as another form of business and income, we also transferred we have one phone number now. So we have one phone number for all 3 studios, and then they're able to hit 1 for Red Hook, 2 for Catskill, 3 for Saugerties. So I think it's $98 a month for all of that. And that includes my phone numbers, my online platform, everything else. And when I had numbers for each studio and internet and the whole entire thing, so that saved me almost $500 a month.
Wow.
All of that.
And
so,
that was all through Ring Central?
Yeah, it's all through Ring Central.
Wow.
So we have one main phone number. They're really great with customer service. They helped me set the whole entire thing up. So that's another kind of avenue that I went to set that up. And I haven't had issues with it crashing. The only thing was our internet, like when we had tornado warnings and things like that.
Sure. Well, you can, yeah.
Yeah. And I think someone asked how long was the Sip and Shop? Yes. So we just promoted the Sip and Shop online, all through social media. I sent some stuff out, like we have like our top 10, like people that always, buy with us, things like that. And we also, if they picked it up from the studio, so we also offered that. They got like a free tote bag, and we offered perks, and we only did it was just an hour, I think a little bit under an hour. And as soon as something was sold, whoever called it out first, that, went to that person. And then payment, again, we went through Mindbody. We have everybody's credit cards usually on file, which is super easy. And they're just like, put it on my account. And then we either mailed it, people picked it up from the studio, or some of the clients that we are closer with, we just dropped it off at their homes.
That's fantastic. And I feel like, especially because a lot of people aren't still going inside the brick and mortar, and you probably have, past season retail sitting in your environment. If you do retail, it's a great way to get kind of like some of that out, and then maybe consider bringing in 2021 in the future. Now, yeah. Chelsea, you've done a lot of really great, wonderful things that have worked during this time, even though we're all in this kind of like vortex of losing streams of income, gaining streams of income. Can you talk a little bit, because we've all had these, a little bit maybe about some pain points that you've had, as far as like, did you try and run any education, and how did that work for you?
Yeah, so there has been, everything is not, rainbows and butterflies. Like there has been many volcanoes and potholes and huge issues that we have run into. So a couple of things, that we tried to do a virtual Pilates mat certification. Not once, not twice. We tried it 3 times, and 3 times is not the charm for us. It failed. So that did not work for us. We also did a sale in our parking lot. We sold like a bunch of props and things like that. And we did it again. We tried it 2 times, and the first time was really great. And then the second time we basically spent all morning lugging everything out into the parking lot, and we made $20. So so there has been a lot of things as far as that goes. I've, worked with my credit card companies and, everything as far as, trying to transfer stuff and, going that route. My relationship with my landlord in Saugerties is really, really great. She has been a godsend through all of this, where, I basically, all the equipment's there. I said, what would you like me to do? And she goes, let's just put everything on hold and let's regroup once you can open again.
That's great.
Just communicating too. And a lot of those conversations are scary as heck. The anxiety leading up to it. What are they going to say? What am I going to do? Am I going to have to close my studio? And still, like, we're not out of the water. So we're all here, and I don't know what's going to happen. We've been open for 9 days. Has it been, great? It's been great. Yeah. However, do we have classes that we still have to cancel? Yeah. Do we have classes with one person? Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, am I going to have to close a studio? I don't know. Am I going to have to sell a building? My bank has been able to work with me where you know, we've managed to finagle some stuff and work stuff out, but you know, that was for 6 months, and now come October, everything comes back. So
right.
we get a little bit of
And
peace.
I think that that's just such a common thread with everything that's going on with all of us. It's whether you're a studio owner, just an instructor, an independent contractor, wherever you're at in your career in Pilates and wellness, just in general, everything is so varied and so different, which is why it's so nice to have different voices, and also just understanding that sometimes I use these webinars, even though Shannon and I are co-hosting these, as my checkoff list. I'm like, okay, I am doing that. Like, check, I'm good, you know? So hopefully those of you who are sticking with us on this and you're hearing some of the things that are same things that are happening to you, you're like, okay, good, I'm in that same boat. And, or, oh, that's a great resource. So did you rent any of your equipment out? We have a question from Kathleen Meyer.
So yes, I would love to touch on this, because right before, so 13 days before we closed, I sold all my old Allegros to a wonderful woman in Lake Placid. And I spent well over $60,000 on brand new equipment. And here it sits. So, and here we have to pay for all this. So I did not rent out any equipment because I was petrified. I was petrified someone's cat was going to rip the leather. I did get rid of some springboards that we weren't using. We did move the studio around a little bit. So the only thing I really sold was 4 springboards. Everything else we kept, because everything was brand new and barely even touched or used. And I was petrified to lend it out. And also just realistically, like how is I going to get, because I have the tower units with the wooden frames, and they're heavy.
Sure.
And I just didn't, and a lot of our clients are older. So in order for them to move it into their home, they didn't want me in their home. They didn't want my dad in their home, you know, so it was just, that also didn't work for me. And I know a lot of studios it did, and it worked great, but for me also that did not work.
Yeah. So it's just a varied approach. My last and final question before I toss it back over to Shannon is, in the kind of hybridized scenario that we will be living in going forward, how have you managed the kind of virtual and in-person now that you are back open, and kind of promotions, or if you are doing any promotions around that?
So we're doing both. So we have, which is kind of, it's confusing. Because if you look at our mind body schedule, like people are signing up for the wrong studio, then they're signing up for online, then they're showing up in the studio. And then the people, like my Tuesday morning, she's texting me and she's like, where's my link? And I'm like, no, I'm in the studio. And she goes, well, I'm at home. I'm like, oh, right. She goes, I forgot. I said, okay. So it's been interesting with all that. We are keeping both. So we are keeping online classes. We are at least have one a day. And we did, for our online classes, we did a sliding scale, which worked out really, really nice. So we did 50-minute Pilates mat. We did half-hour Pilates mat, and we did 15-minute. The 15-minute was $5. The half hour was $10, and the 50 or 45 minutes is $20. So we tried to like accommodate everybody within that, and we're keeping that. The only thing that we did get rid of were the 15 minutes, just because it was too hard to schedule, and the attendance started dwindling down. So for my trainers, for like, you know, $10, $5, what's profitable, what's not, a private in the studio is more profitable. So, yeah. And right now we're just doing trio classes. We're not doing packages. We're doing trio classes for $40 a piece, because if we have to shut down again, I can't afford to owe people thousands and hundreds of dollars.
Right. No, that makes very, very, very much sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, and your 15-minute classes, if you did choose to record any of that, which is also a tip of mine, which is because we're living in this world with cameras in front of us, record absolutely everything you can. That would be content that you could then push over to a different platform and use as like tutorials or something of that nature for your clients, or even a broader audience in the future.
Yeah, we have like some bundles that we're selling, like on our website. Like there's like, you know, 7 days of Pilates, 10 days of Pilates, things like that I did, like where we sell the whole bundle for $10, and they've been okay. But that kind of stuff for us too, like that hasn't been like a real moneymaker or, you know.
Right. And sometimes it's not about monetization, it's about resources. Like, you know, as for instance, as I mentioned, you know, you could slide those over to a YouTube, a YouTube non-monetized area for homework or something of that nature, for your loyal clientele and or for a new customer along the way. Shannon, do you have anything to add to this?
Just for the Sip and Shop events, did the class this is from Sue, did the class take place near the restaurant or did you have to manage the food?
Oh, for the workout and takeout.
Yeah, workout and takeout, excuse me.
Yeah, so for the workout and takeout, what I did is for the first one in Red Hook, I taught, and then my friend from Red Hook just started a local business and he dropped off all the food. For the one in Catskill, I had one of my other trainers teach, and I had the restaurant drop off the food. And then the one in Saugerties, I had another one of my trainers teach, and I was the food truck delivery. So I went and picked it up and I dropped it off. So it's going to be different depending on like what each restaurant can do. And that's where the communication with them kind of really, you know, plays, like, and that pickup time is super important. So like, our class was at 6 o'clock and she was like, you have to be here by 6:15 because I have another order at 6:30 going out. So it was like, okay, so, you know, the timeline of that is like, you know, running around. And then it's like after class, I actually just opened the back of my Jeep, put all the food out, and then they bagged it too. So people were able to just like grab it and go.
Grab their stuff. That's great. And Chelsea, with those events, what was your most effective social media promotions? Was it through your Facebook or your Facebook Lives, or was it Instagram or?
So we get a lot of like stuff through my personal Instagram and also the Body Be Well Instagram. Facebook, yes, not as much lately. And then we also get, for our email blasts, we do an email blast to thousands of people usually minimum once a month. And then usually 2 or 3 times a month. I try not to like flood people's inboxes with the same thing over and over again. And when we do send stuff out, like we always make sure it's like new pictures or a new, you know, note or something like that. So it's just not the same thing over and over and over again.
That makes sense. And so switching to your the classes, with Mind, Tabitha asked, with Mind Body, does it connect the links for online classes?
No, so it doesn't. So we set up the meeting in Ring Central, and you can set it up to recur, you know, every week. So it's already there. And then you have to go into Mind Body and add everybody in through the Ring Central. So you put, you know, same thing like with Zoom, you invite everybody. But usually it's pretty simple because once you get that, you know, like my Tuesday class, it's pretty much a regular crowd where, you know, all their emails just pop up and you just click down the list and they're kind of all there for you. So it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Okay. And Claire asked, what do you mean by trio classes?
So for me, ethically, to space out the equipment where we're allowed right now in New York, we're allowed for 33% capacity. So they base it on square footage. So even though I'm allowed to have 12 people in the studio at one time, I don't feel safe and teaching people, you know, at 6 feet apart with like 6 or 8 reformers. So the best way that I could do it was we have 6 reformers in each studio. And we're doing every other. So it's kind of nice where we don't have to move the equipment around. So one's a reformer, one's a tower, one's a reformer, one's a tower. And the way that I did it was that I reached out to clients and I said, you know, unfortunately, like we're not going to do our 20 packs. We're not going to do our 10 packs. And to cover basically the empty bed or the empty reformer, we basically, our 20 pack used to be like $25 a class on average. So now we do one trio class for $40. So there's only 3 people allowed. This morning.
So the trio is the 3 people.
Yeah, so it's just 3 people. Yep, and that's what we're doing just with the trios.
Got it. $40 a person. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question on this is just could you review your pricing one more time for 30-minute and 1-hour classes?
Oh yeah. So 15-minute we did for $5. 30-minute is $10. And then 45, 50-minute is $20. And the way that I work that with my trainers too is that for all the online classes, like they're at home, they're using their internet, like I don't have to really do anything except promote and help them with that. So I split it with them 50-50.
Great. Okay. And last question. Do you still teach in a mask? And actually there's another, do you still teach in a mask?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I figured. And are you getting new clients, or is it mainly your current clients? And if you're getting new clients, do you have any tips on getting new clients?
Yeah, so we actually have had this month, so we've only been open for 9 days, and just this week alone, we've already had 7 new people come in just for privates, which is a lot. Like that's a lot.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah. Unfortunately, around us, we've had a lot of studios close, which is heartbreaking. So we are demographically, like we cover 3 different counties. So we are there. And the biggest thing that I know social media can kind of be scary, it is to put yourself out there, but if you don't tell people, they're not going to know. So I'm a crazy person on the community boards, and I post at least once a week. And so also, like, I've had a lot of friends who have like huge followings, like locally and like in the community, from politicians to restaurant owners to things like that, that are like, hey, take their class, or hey, go here. So, you know, asking your friends to help you is also okay, but also, you know, posting and letting them know like, hey, we're open, this is what we're doing, and this is what we can do. And also just being real with people. You know, like we've had a lot of negative people kind of like fight with us about like, well, I think it's ridiculous that you're doing $40 a class. And I'm like, well, we've been closed for this much. This is all I can do. If that doesn't work for you as far as financial, you know, whatever goes, then we have the online classes. But unfortunately for me to keep my doors open, pay my teacher, pay the overhead, wear and tear, the 900 other things that we pay for, that's what I have to do right now. So, but the community boards on Facebook, like I'm part of the Catskill community board, Red Hook, and Saugerties, and we've gotten a lot of people that way, just in the community that are local, coming to our workout and takeouts, or, you know, helping us promote that way.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Chelsea. I just put up in the chat feature to have people check out your book as well, which is Studio Shape Up. So there's probably some great resources from a brick and mortar perspective that can be applicable to a variety of different scenarios. And Chelsea is great at collaboration. I know there's a whole entire chapter called Collaboration is Cool, which is super important, because I think that during this time and going forward, it's always really, really important to remember that we are in this together, and that collaborating with other types of businesses, as well as other studio owners, as well as other instructors during this time, is very, very important. And connecting with people and staying connected is a great way to not only grow your own business, but help each other grow your business together. And especially because we are living in a hybridized world with virtual and in real life going forward, there's kind of a disenfranchising now, in a great way, of people being able to work together from California, New York, and all over the world. So without further ado, we are going to now bring on Zayna Gold, who is going to be talking about her experience from the Boston Body perspective. We put Zayna's information in the chat, and Zayna has a lot of great information to share with us, and she's going to be talking on behalf of one of our authorized training centers for Balanced Body for our education as well. She runs wonderful, wonderful education for Balanced Body, as all of our ATCs do, and we're just so thrilled to have her. So thank you, Zayna, for being here. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you for everyone, and you are on.
Well, hi, everyone. And before I start, I just want to congratulate Erica on a new word, hybridized. So, I mean, there are silver linings, and I think a new vocabulary is one of those silver linings. So I'm Zayna Gold, and I want to thank all of you for being here and being a part of this wonderful connection that Balanced Body, Erica and Shannon are providing. It's kind of interesting for me because I am living on Zoom right now, teaching courses and clients, but I have never done a webinar. So I'm used to like the little squares of everybody in front of me, and it reminds me of Hollywood Squares, which I loved when I was a kid. So I'm a little nervous because I can't see anybody. And I just wanted to say to all of you, since I can't see you right now, please DM me on Instagram, Zayna Gold, or email me, Zayna@bostonbody.com. My passion is connecting with people and building Pilates community. So I really mean it, like just connect with me, let me know who you are, what you're doing, ask me, for guidance, give me guidance, whatever works for you. And I would love that. So I wanted to start talking a little bit about, where I was when that lockdown happened, which in Boston was mid-March. And at that time, I own a number of studios in the greater Boston area, Boston Body Pilates, and also I am a training center for balanced bodies. So we're very active. We've always done, I would say, about 2 courses a month at least. And I do a ton of continuing education and mentoring in person. I had dabbled in the virtual because I have some international clients, but a lot of times they would come to Boston. So it's not like, I would say that may have been, a 20th of my business. Also, I was very fortunate that I have an online on-demand studio, which I had had for mentoring and home workouts for 3 years. So that was really nice to have that when everything shut down. So I have over 30 years of experience. And I just want to let all of you guys know, like, it doesn't matter. Probably some of you listening have the same amount of experience as I do. And some of you might literally have done your first teaser yesterday. And you're wondering if you want to start teaching Pilates to your friends or family. And I want to let you know, really important, we are all on a level playing field right now. With all of my experience, if any of you have no experience, we are all not knowing what we're doing right now. And that was so clear to me right away. And the thing I kept saying to myself over and over was stronger together. And, it wasn't just a slogan for me. It was really a way that I didn't keep my sanity. I actually stayed happy and upbeat and positive, just knowing stronger together, like all of us together, learning together, supporting each other. That was going to not get us through, but get us through with silver linings. Maybe have some things happen that were even better than before this really crazy, surreal experience that all of us are going through. So what exactly does that mean, stronger together? And what did I do practically to appreciate that? And so one thing was, when I saw someone doing something that I thought, oh, that's really cool. Gosh, how did they do that? I wish I could do that. I would just ask them. I would message them, email them, text them, call them, and just, hey, I noticed you're doing this. It's amazing. Do you mind sharing with me the technology that you're using or how you got started? And, I really try to surround myself with people who are generous in spirit, who support me and everyone else, who want to build up people around them. So I had 100% positive response where people really wanted to tell me what they were doing and help me and support me. And I really hope that everyone who reached out to me, people I knew, people I had never met, I hope that they would say the same about me, that I could give them advice that was really helpful to them. So, it's funny, so many times when we're in business, we feel like, gosh, I don't want to share any information because then they'll have what I have and then they'll do just as well as I do, or I won't be able to do better. And I just want to encourage you, give it all away. Just give it away. Because the more you give it away, first of all, those gifts that you are giving to people, they will determine your brand, so to speak. So when I started my first studio 30 years ago, I would say every single instructor in Boston came to my classes because I was always coming up with new formats. And then I would hear from my clients, oh, so-and-so had this great class. She did this, this, and this. And I'd be like, oh, okay. So she came to my class and then is teaching my class. And I felt great about it. I honestly didn't even think twice about it. I encouraged all of the instructors in our Boston area to come to my classes. I always told them, I'm going to try to give you a great class. You can go away with lots of ideas. And you know what happened is I became known as someone who could mentor and train other teachers. So 30 years ago, that was the start of my mentoring and teaching the Boston area instructors. So something that I had done, you know, just trying to not be competitive, actually turned out to be a really important part of my career. So I just want to really have you remember, we are stronger together. Give it all away, because all that will mean is you're always going to have to evolve and keep fresh so that you can set yourself apart. So we talked a lot, Chelsea talked a lot about the brick and mortar studios. And brick and mortar, that just means you've got, you know, the physical studio. And in Boston, I think we reopened a month ago. And I want to talk about a pitfall first and then some stuff that has worked. So I would say the pitfall for us was, I'm one of those glass, not even half full. I'm like a glass overflowing person. For those of you who know me, like I just always have to think positive. And when we opened, when we did our email marketing, I thought, you know, gosh, I don't want to be negative. We have like COVID restrictions and guidelines that are like an entire single space sheet. But in our email marketing, let's lead with, you know, inspiration, positivity. Isn't it going to feel great to get back to your Pilates experience? And I want to let you know it didn't work, okay? People didn't want that. What they wanted, COVID, COVID, COVID. How are you going to keep me safe? Are people going to be disinfecting equipment? What is social distancing? Are you guys going to be wearing masks? What if a client takes a mask off, etc.? So that's something that I just want to say that probably depending on what part of the world you're in, and in a lot of places that I know of, people are very, very concerned about their safety from COVID. So whatever your personal way of approaching this is, lead with the COVID response. Instructors. So let's say that you are part of a brick and mortar team, whether you're a Pilates instructor, an owner, a staff. You need to understand first and foremost that every one of us comes to this from a different place. What I learned from my staff and teachers is some of them were like, oh yeah, get me in there, you know, hey, I'll wear a mask if you require it. And others were, I don't know if I can do this. I'm having anxiety attacks about my health coming back. And for those of us as studio owners, that was so hard for me to hear. It was so hard. I had to literally breathe and breathe and breathe because I was worried about our own survival. And then I was having to take care of staff and instructors about them being concerned with their survival. It was really tough. And I just kept saying to myself, you know, be there for everybody. Give them space to have whatever reaction to this world that we're in right now. Give them that space. Listen to them. So I did a lot of listening. You know, if an instructor would say, are we really going to be able to have more than one person in the entire room? And, you know, my first reaction would be like, what are you talking about? Like there's 30 feet of social distancing. But instead I would force myself to say, you know, what would you feel comfortable with? Let's talk about how we're going to put our apparatus so that we have more than 6 feet. When I first reopened, we started with about 10 feet social distancing. And then as the instructors came back, we made that 6 feet. So now we are able to have 7 people in our group classes, whereas before it was 9 people. And I do want to say, just a little aside, I don't know if you can hear the ocean out there. I'm in gorgeous Provincetown, but talking about silver linings. So we had more than 7 in a class. We had 9 and all of our classes were waitlisted before the lockdown. So we had to sell 2 of our Allegro 2s. So I was very upset at having to sell them. But we sold them, I deposited the money, and I picked up the phone and I booked our vacation for this week. So, I thought to myself, if I'm going to have to sell these gorgeous Allegro 2s, at least we're going to take a vacation that maybe we can't afford in the middle of, restrictions. So, I don't know, Erica, I don't know if anyone has asked me a question that I should answer, because I'm going to go on to Instagram.
Yeah, not as of yet, but what I would love for you to make sure that you're talking about how you're handling your social promotions for sure. And also remember how we talked about the used car salesman. That's going to be, I think, a pretty critical one, because we're all feeling a little bit of that right now. But take it away as far as what you've been doing on social.
Great. So I want to talk a little bit about social media and Facebook. Chelsea did such a fantastic job talking about community boards and specialized groups. And these are things that have been very helpful to us as well. Email marketing. Most of us use Constant Contact, MailChimp. So if you have software for your brick and mortar studio or your live stream classes, you can do reports and send out email marketing. And I think that emails are very, very important. You've got to have call to action on every single thing that you do. And a call to action, what that means is that when you're telling people what you have to offer, and remember, you have to tell them, because they're not going to know if you don't tell them. Every single thing you offer, you have to have a call to action. That means a button that they can click that goes directly to them purchasing an item or registering for an event. On Instagram, which I really love Instagram as a social media platform, there's something called a link tree, okay? And I've got, if any of you want to contact me, I've got like a extensive PowerPoint with the names of 2 companies that I have seen most people using. The link tree, what that means is at the end of your biography on Instagram, you click the link tree, and you can have as many call to actions as you want. So for example, on our link tree, if I make a post and say, September, I'm doing Reformer 1 for Balanced Body, Mat 1, etc., link in bio. So you put link in bio all in caps, and then they go to your link tree. They can click upcoming, in my case, Balanced Body courses, or upcoming live stream, whatever it is that I'm promoting. And then they go directly to being able to make a purchase. And I was chatting with Erica preparing for this event, and I was saying that, I've always kind of taken pride at not being a salesperson. I like to inspire people. I like to connect, but I have a really hard time selling all the time, or selling myself, or selling my events. And I have really had to get over that. I can't say I'm over it, but I have really had to get to the point where I feel like it's okay if 4 times a week I'm promoting various events. Because for me, I've got my education program, I've got my on-demand studio, I've got my live stream now, and then I've got my brick and mortar studios. There's all this stuff to promote, and it's like, okay, are people going to get sick of having me constantly telling them about things? But I think that everyone now understands the position that all small businesses are in, that we are all fighting to be successful. I'm not going to say survive, which we know is really what's happening, but we want to be successful. We want to be able to bring in revenue. So people are very, very understanding about that. Chelsea had mentioned people asking about discounts. I know that some people ask about, okay, if I do a Zoom private or a Zoom class, do I get a discount? Or your brick and mortar studio, do I get a sale because, the situation? So for our brick and mortar studio, we are not giving any discounts at all. If anything, we need to we don't charge more, but if we could, we would. I mean, we can't. But brick and mortar studios, you know, it's really, really tough right now for everyone. So I don't recommend that you give a discount. I think people ask. I don't think they expect it. For our live stream classes, we do them at a discounted rate. But live stream, if you guys are not live streaming classes right now in privates, I really want to recommend that you do that. And then you can also advertise those on your Instagram platform. So with Instagram, there's something called a carousel now that a lot of people are using. And just for example, for Labor Day weekend, I'm going to put up, you know, 5 ways to have a full body workout, let's say. So I'm going to have 5 carousel panels that you swipe, and each one will be one workout that people can do for Labor Day weekend. Then in my link, I'm going to have a link to connect to my on-demand studio. So in other words, they look at the Instagram post, they connect with my online studio, and then hopefully become a new subscriber for the on-demand studio. So
Yeah. What I was going to add to that, Zayna, not to interrupt you, is that what Zayna does very, very well is she creates a very easy, what we call in the marketing world, path to purchase, right? So you want to make it as easy as one click away to be able to get somebody to either subscribe to what you want them to subscribe to, and that could be something as simple as just wanting your emails on a regular basis, or maybe they want to register for one of your live stream classes. And what we mean by live stream is virtual classes, whether it's an event or it's just a live stream, you know, Pilates class. And that path to purchase that Zayna creates, because it's so easy, the turnover rate for these types of things is very easy for the customer. And that is really, really a critical piece just in marketing in general, but especially with the virtual world. And if we have 2 minutes at the end, I will definitely dive into the link tree, because that's a part of the PowerPoint that I'm going to share as well. And I'll also talk about how to bilk the algorithm in a couple of very simple steps with Facebook as well as Instagram as well. Zayna, with regards to what you've been doing with all of your education and opening up the market to some of the international sides of things, how has that changed with you being able to do more virtual?
So that has really opened up for me. When the lockdown happened, I had a course scheduled, you know, a regular in-studio course. I think it was Movement Principles for Balanced Body. And I was going to cancel it because I've never, ever taught a virtual course. And quite honestly, I thought I would hate it. But I didn't want to, you know, not make the revenue because I had no idea when we were going to reopen. So I did it, and I found out that I absolutely love teaching, education courses, mentoring, and everything else on Zoom. So I started to really pay attention to people who might make comments on my posts or direct message me. And at first, when someone would direct message me, you know, from the Middle East, let's say, or India or Australia, or, you know, a town in New York, wherever, I would have our manager respond to them. And I found that that didn't really work. They wanted me to respond to them. And they wanted it to be in a very friendly way, not, you know, professional, and, you know, they wanted it very casual, very much like a social media kind of style. So I have, I'm teaching Reformer 1 September 19th and 20th. That kind of kicks off all of my courses for the fall. And I have 6 people from Australia, 3 from London. I have 5 from another state in the United States. I have someone from the South. So how did I do that? Okay, so a studio owner, 2 different studio owners separately, had contacted me and were asking me for advice on the studio, you know, the brick and mortar studio and the reopening. So I really shared with them what was working for me, what wasn't. One of them was in Australia, one of them was in the United States. And so it's not like I did it for any kind of business reason. I just really wanted to help. So they stayed in touch with me. And then when they saw that I was going to be teaching the reformer course, one of them said, we don't have reformers at my studio. I really want to get them. I'm going to send my entire staff by Zoom. So that was 6 people. The other one had opened her studio after lockdown. So of course she didn't have a team because it was lockdown. She might even be listening right now. And if she is, she knows who she is. But she got a team together. People who taught bar in town that were very successful in bar, maybe people who were friends, clients, whatever. And so she's sending 5 people. So that right there is 11 people coming to my reformer one course that I'm doing in September. And, again, maybe I should, but I don't feel comfortable with overt sales, but in a way that was similar to sales because I was just chatting with them and connecting with them, and I had something they needed. So what they need is staff, and then what I need is participants for my reformer. So I'm having so many people internationally, and I want to talk about, I have had people from Singapore, a lot of people from the Middle East, India, etc. And the time zones are completely different. And I've been really surprised that people will stay up. They will stay up. And it's kind of fun because all the participants know that this person in their pajamas, that it's 3 a.m. where they are. So I mean, it's been kind of, funny and fun. But so don't cut yourself short that just because someone lives in a time zone that is 9 hours different from yours. If you have something that you're wanting to teach them that has value to them, they will stay up, or you can record it, if you're doing some sort of mentoring or Pilates teaching, you can record it for them if it's a workout or whatever.
Absolutely. No, I think, Zayna, you've done a great job in this environment. Also, obviously furthering connections that you've already made to continue what the power of digital media really is. And right now, the power of digital media is exponential in comparison to even what it used to be 6 months ago. You can use it to your advantage. We talked a little bit about the used car salesman. What we mean by that is what Zayna was saying is that sometimes she feels like a used car salesman when she's posting 4 and 5 and 6 times about a particular thing. The thing of it is, my friends that are on this and or are watching this afterwards, there is an algorithm behind the scenes. There is this spider that's crawling behind Facebook, behind LinkedIn, behind Instagram. And that algorithm can be to your disadvantage, because oftentimes if you don't post at the right time, or you do post at the right time, or maybe only a small subset of your audience is going to see that. So to get through that and to get more eyes on your posts, you actually have to say and promote your things multiple times and multiple and varied different ways. And it feels sometimes kind of icky from our perspective. I just ran a live stream a couple weeks ago and I was promoting up to the minute, and the last day I still got 5 more registrations. It kind of feels icky, but the only thing that you need to keep in the back of your head is that the majority of people that you're trying to promote to actually potentially haven't even seen that post. Shannon, do you have anything to add or any questions you'd like to ask of Zayna?
I was just going to add on your point of people have not seen it, likely have not seen it because of the algorithms. It's also a highly cluttered space. So people are getting lots of messages all the time. So I say the more messaging, the better. The more consistent messaging, the better. At some point, they will click and join in. So I think that's just really important, and not to be shy about it and not to feel weird or anything else. I mean, we're all trying to stay viable in this environment, and people know that. So yeah.
Yeah. And I sorry, go ahead, Zayna. I don't want to interrupt. Carry on.
The one thing I wanted to remember to say too, in terms of Instagram and building a following, building connections. So engaging is really important. And that's the one thing I find people don't understand. So liking someone's video that is not going to make connections for you. You have to make a comment. So making comments, very, very important. Also, being part of hashtags. So for example, I do a hashtag Pilates is magic. And every month we have a different theme. It was shoulders and arms. For August, it's booty madness. For September, you guys are the first to know, by the way, we haven't.
Booty madness.
Booty madness.
Big information. And people post for that. And then the people that are posting for that get to know each other. And I make collages at the end of each month, which, by the way, I was supposed to make yesterday, but instead I'm enjoying Provincetown. So I will be making my collages. But it's a chance for everyone to kind of be celebrated and supported. And so I want to put that out there. And the other thing is, be authentic on social media. So when I started Instagram 3 years ago, I'm a total Pilates nerd. Like I literally could, well, I do talk about Pilates nonstop, like anatomy, Pilates, verbal cues. I mean, my husband is so excited that I do Instagram because I used to wake up and start talking about this stuff. Or like at night, I would think about something else about Pilates I wanted to talk about. So now he doesn't need to deal with that because I'm talking to my friends constantly. Like he'll be like, who are you talking to? And, you know, I would have a half-hour conversation from Australia about fascia, you know, and he's like hearing this from the other room. So my point is, I forgot actually what my point is. My point is to be authentic. So I always came at it from a Pilates nerd point. Like when someone would make a post, I would say, wow, you know, that's a really interesting way of doing it. I'm not someone who's going to talk about my personal life or, oh, building a story brand. Oh my God, okay, I need to stop talking because I want to know what you're talking. I want to know about that.
No, what you're saying is really important, Zayna, and I do not want to shut you up, but it is 10 o'clock here if you're watching this live. So I do want to kind of wrap things and a couple of things. I'm just going to give you 3 final tips on my end. And I know, promise you a PowerPoint. I'm not going to share my screen right now, but it's going to take us a good 10 minutes to get through that. What we will do is we will include this. It's a very robust PowerPoint. It's going to give you some awesome resources for images to use for a whole variety of different things, and just ideas on how to create really slick images for free. My 3 things on social media that I want to talk about, and this is bilking the algorithm. So this is directly related how to get more eyes on your posts. If you can get a comment on your Facebook post that is 5 words or more, 5 words or more, because Facebook likes the number of words, right? If they're not as concerned about the time, they want the number of words, then you're going to get more eyes on that post. With Instagram, if you can get a comment or comments on that post within an hour, then Instagram is going to like you and they are going to boost that post a little bit higher as well. So with Facebook, it's 5 words or more. With Instagram, it's within a time frame. And then finally, I want to show this book to you. This is a book called Building a Story Brand. It's a great resource. I do not make any money off of this, but it's a great way to start to think about what your story is and telling your story. Because the reason why Zayna has the people that are coming to Zayna Gold and Chelsea has the people that are coming to Chelsea Studios and to see her on virtual live stream events as well as buying her book. And for me, same thing, is because we're telling our own authentic story. We're not trying to tell anyone else's story. And so that's a great book to start to help you really refine what your story is, what I say, what are your sharp points, how to drill down onto what your value propositions are as far as being a story brand. And then that will start to get you along the social media side of things to a point of what I call staying in your lane. Don't try and be somebody else. Don't try and look at anyone else's feed and think that you need to be that person out there that's doing X, Y, or Z. The best thing that you can do is be who you are, because authentically from that spirit and that spirit alone, it does not matter if you have 5 followers or 500,000 followers. You will absolutely start to build your own story, and that's how you will start to build your audience, and that's how you will grow your path to purchase. So that's what I have to say from the very simple side of things. We will follow up with a PowerPoint that's a little bit more robust to that end. I'm going to toss the baton back to Shannon Cook to ask her if she has any final last words on this, and or any final questions she wants to ask before we close up this e-learning series.
Now, just huge thanks. Huge thanks to Chelsea for sharing your awesome experiences, really unique experiences. I was not aware of the takeout and workout, which I think is great, a great concept, and a great way to partner in your community, as well as the sip and shop, of course, if you have retail. That's awesome. And Zayna, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with your community and also with the education and how well you're doing with that online. It's awesome. Glad to see you in P-Town as well. And thank you everyone for joining us. As Erica has said, we will deploy the recording with the PDF, with the PowerPoint from Erica within 24 hours, and you'll have Chelsea's contact information, Zayna's contact information, my contact information, and Erica's in the email, and you can reach out to any of us with your questions. We're here to support. It takes a village, right? I mean, that's what it takes right now, and so the more connections we can make, the better. I did want to say, I'm hoping it wasn't lost in the chat, I mentioned nextdoor.com. That is another online community in addition to Facebook. If you're not using nextdoor.com, please check it out. It's free. It's in every community in the United States, and it is going gangbusters. Lots of eyeballs on it. So you can do exactly what Chelsea was saying about using Facebook community pages. Same thing on nextdoor.com. So with that, thank you. Reach out.
Thanks, everyone. Yes, and we have one last thing to say. Remember, we do these every single month, the first Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We change up the topics a little bit, but this is a hot topic right now. So oftentimes when we're having studio owners on, they're also giving about a little bit of information about what's going on with them. So feel free to tune in every single month with us. We want to hear from you, as Shannon said. If you want other topics, we are happy to tackle those as well. So stick together. As Zayna said, we are stronger together, and let's keep that message out there. We look forward to seeing you next month, and we will be in touch very, very soon. Thanks to all of you for joining, and thanks to our lovely panelists, and always gratitude to Shannon Cook. Bye for now.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.